Okay, we are in the car driving to the new restaurant. I'm not driving. The new restaurant that we're going to get a little tour of and interview my friend Joel Huff, who is the owner and he's the chef there, and hear about his journey in the world of hospitality and culinary arts. We are down by the beach. You can see that. I don't know if you could see it or not, but there it was. And turning on Sandhone Road. His location is a pretty neat location. It's up and coming. It's by all that new development on Sandhone Road. If you know where that is, it's kind of by Cabrillo Middle School and the Pierpont Inn. All right. We'll be there in a second. So here we are outside Frontside Cafe, and you can see they're still doing some planting out in front. He's got his notice to sell alcoholic beverages. We can ask him about that, about putting that notice out. And there's Charnay, his wife. We're gonna go in and interview him. All right, so I'm in here. Look, they have a bar. This is all brand new. They had to build all of this from scratch, and they're still building. You guys can hear the pounding in the background. That's Joel. It's a family affair. Those are his kids over there. And this is Charnay, his wife. Hi. And she actually worked in the hospitality and still does work in the hospitality industry for years and years. Joel met her while he was a chef in Australia, and she was working at the same restaurant. Anyhow, so they're still building. How much longer did you say, Charnay, you think it's gonna be?
So we probably have about 2 weeks left. We're trying to finalize the kitchen right now so we can have the health department come in and check us off. And we have these windows over here that need to get put in, which is the last kind of major construction piece that needs to be done. And other than that, we're pretty much just the decor, chairs.
And they had, see this mural on the wall?
This was done by a local artist. His name is Andrew Rodriguez, and we found him online. He's done some other artwork around Ventura, and he came in, we gave him the design and what we were looking for, and he came up with having the sun shaped in the middle, so we're super proud of that.
And did he do this too?
No, we had, this is from a stencil, and we had somebody else do this for us, so it's a stenciled,
isn't that cool?
Rug that's painted onto the ground.
It's not a carpet, you guys. It looks like it's paint though.
So I saw like something like that up in San Francisco when we were traveling over the summer, and I loved it, and I wanted to have it there and make a family style table.
Okay, so we're still front of the house, but you know, the minute I walk back here, we're gonna be in the back of the house. So, as Charnay was saying, the windows are gonna go up here. They have to do that for the health department, but I know they bought a really beautiful cappuccino machine.
La Maranza coffee machine.
Mm-hmm.
It's back there covered up right now, and it's going to go right there on that table. We have our oven for baked goods, and we'll be doing that.
So they're gonna have acai bowls here, you guys. They've got a bakery. This is like a high schooler's dream place to come by, have a sandwich, grab something delicious. Okay, we're gonna look through here. Coffee. There's Joel back there and my husband. We're gonna head back there in a minute. All right, I am back in the kitchen, and you guys can see, you know all about the differences between a hand washing sink, the 3-compartment sink. You can see that. We've got the appliances that are all being built. Dishwasher. Oh, you guys went and got a dishwasher. Wow. Remember what temperature that has to be at? All the racks and everything that are back here. It's looking pretty cool. We're gonna go sit down and talk with Joel. Joel is like my brother, so we're gonna go maskless, 6 feet apart, just because that's the way we roll. All right. Joel, show me where we're gonna go sit. All right, here's the walk-in too, you guys. If you, oh, he locked me out of it. That's our Friggy, the big, nice, beautiful walk-in. Ventura, I don't know if you guys have one of those, but we definitely don't. Lock that. All right. So this is Joel Huff. You already met his wife, Shanae. Joel and I have been friends since, like, really, really young.
Really young.
5 years old. Joel's way younger than me, though. And you guys know I'm super old. So he's way younger.
She used to babysit me. Yes. Yes, she did.
Well, okay, not really. Joel grew up in Ventura. He is like born and bred Ventura, local. His family is from Ventura. You guys will probably see him surfing out at Solomar. He's the one that's super good. So anyway, so he's traveled all around the world, lived all around the world, and just had those experiences because of his life in the culinary.
Yeah, I started it really young, and I started in construction in the beginning with Dad, and that's given me the ability to build this restaurant, help from my dad. But my first cooking experience, I wanted to tell you a funny story.
Okay.
So she asked me what my first cooking experience was earlier, and I had to remind her about an old story. Is that she did babysit me, not very much. She did babysit me one time. And it's funny, it's when I found out I really did love to cook. I don't know if you remember this,
Okay.
but we made cinnamon rolls, lemon cinnamon rolls. Do you remember that?
It's familiar.
You babysitted me at my aunt's house, and we baked full risen cinnamon rolls. And that was the first time I really clicked in. I was like, I really truly love to do this. And you were a part of that.
Aww, I never knew. But you know what? Sometimes you do have those moments where it's like, I like this.
Yeah.
So, and that recipe is going to be here.
Yes, well, we'll have a cinnamon roll here. And it's potato based. I don't know if you did a potato based one, but usually you take mashed potatoes, you add it, it kind of makes it creamy. So I started cooking. That was the first question you were going to ask me.
Crazy.
I started working again. That was my first memory of cooking, of something. And I was pretty young. I was probably had to be no more than 10. And then I got in around 14 or 15. There was an orange market over there by Boyna.
It's now the gym.
It's now the gym. And it was this beautiful gourmet market, and I worked in the butcher shop. And from there, they had a barbecue, a Santa Maria barbecue out front, and I started working and doing the Santa Maria barbecue, so tri-tip and chicken. The owners were Bob and Peggy Carr. Peggy Carr was my godmother. She's like the Julia Childs of Ventura. She had a catering company.
She is. She catered my wedding.
She's an amazing caterer. She got me started in cooking. But I also was, again, surrounded. My other aunt was an amazing chef, a home cook. She got me really interested in cooking. She lived in Italy for a while at a young age. So she had all this Italian background, so she got me in Italian food. And when I turned 16 and a half, I went to the Chart House. And I started working at the Chart House locally. And I was working the salad bar, and I was bussing tables, and then I got the restaurant vibe that we call that. It's like this excitement that you get working in a restaurant. And so I started working there, and Jiro Chose Sushi Bar, the owner, was a friend of my brother's, and he got me interested in sushi, and I always loved eating sushi, and I was like, I really want to know how to make sushi. So he got me into Japanese cuisine, which I fell in love with, and from there I kind of kept that in my repertoire, and that was how I am.
So just think about from the time he said when he first got inspired and loved cooking, and we're just, he's only 17 or 18 years old, the different jobs that you had. I mean, that's one of the things I think people forget, how many different jobs in the food industry you can have. You could be a barbecue, you could work at the butcher,
right? You
go into be working in the sushi restaurant, the salad bar at the
sales. House. You can go into sales.
Yeah,
you can
there's so many, and you've done a lot of it, which is why I think you're so great to talk to also. So, okay, take a second. Okay, so Joel went to St. Bonaventure, and they didn't have a CTE program there. But I bet if they had that CTE program, you probably at that point would have been interested in doing it.
Right. I mean, Daisy helped me. She was my tutor. I had a learning disability growing up, and I was looking for a career that I could really be good at. and I was good with my hands, and I had been working construction, and I wasn't really, my dad had taught me being in construction. It wasn't really my vibe. I was more creative, and that gave me the ability to be creative. I would have started, I graduated high school after cooking, and a friend of mine was also cooking with me, wanted to go to the Santa Barbara City College where they had a cooking program. So, and it was a very strict program. We had to be there at 6:30 every morning. If you were a minute late, you would get 3 lates and you were kicked out of the cooking school. It was very intense. Mr. Dunn was the head educator there, and he was very old school, which I loved because I really learned how to, put my foot. It was also like military, like you had to focus, you had to be there, you had to be all in. It was a great experience.
But if you find something you love, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're there. It doesn't. You want to be there.
Right.
So. Yeah,
so and there was always a question: are you going to go to college for your college? And I had gotten into cooking, and I got my education after I graduated 2 years there. I got my bachelor, I think I got, whatever it may be.
Well, your chef.
Yeah, certification. I ended up going to school and.
Hold on.
Okay, so you finished at Santa Barbara City College. The cool thing is our program, they actually can go straight into the Oxnard Culinary Program.
Cool.
And if they take the 2 years, like our students, if they take 2 years program, they come away with college credit.
Right.
So it's a cool program. So you went to Santa Barbara.
So I went to Santa Barbara, which the cool thing was that I benefited from was I was really good in the kitchen, but I wasn't really good with the managing and running restaurants, and so they taught you that, which was really important because I always thought, oh, you'll be a great cook, and that was it, and you'd be a great cook. But there's more than that to being a restaurant owner or whatever you decide to be. You need to have business side of that.
Even if you're an executive chef, you still are running people. You're managing people under you.
Exactly.
You're not just back there cooking the whole time.
Right.
So so after SBCC, you headed up north.
I had worked in Santa Barbara at the San Ysidro Ranch, and I got that fine dining kind of feel and loved it. I worked for a phenomenal chef there, and he had 5-star, 5-diamond rating. He was extremely good. Came from Chicago, from Charlie Trotter's, who was at the time one of the best chefs in the United States. He got me into the fine dining thing. He said to me, "Hey, what's your next step?" And I said, "I don't know. I really want to carry on." He says, "Well, you really need to go to that big city and work in the best restaurant you can." And back in the day, you just knock on the back door and you work in the best restaurant. You hopefully got in, and they made you a dishwasher, and then you can.
That's cool.
Right. So I went to LA at that time. There was a restaurant called L'Orangerie, and it was a 5-star, 5-diamond restaurant in LA, the only one, and it was owned by 2 French people. And I knocked on the back door. And Ludo was the chef. I don't know. He's a big.
Yeah, I know
Ludo Prave. He's like the big Food Network chef. He's the French guy who gets the hot temper. I worked for him. So he introduced me to he was just beginning to his career, which was really cool because we really fed off each other. But I really learned the hardcore kitchen back then. It was, the old nightmare story.
Hold on.
Okay, so you finished at Santa Barbara City College. The cool thing is our program, they actually can go straight into the Oxnard Culinary Program.
Cool.
And if they take the 2 years, like our students, if they take 2 years program, they come away with college credit.
Right.
So it's a cool program. So you went to Santa Barbara.
So I went to Santa Barbara, which the cool thing was that I benefited from was I was really good in the kitchen, but I wasn't really good with the managing and running restaurants, and so they taught you that, which was really important because I always thought, oh, you'll be a great cook, and that was it, and you'd be a great cook. But there's more than that to being a restaurant owner or whatever you decide to be. You need to have business side of that.
Even if you're an executive chef, you still are running people. You're managing people under you.
Exactly.
You're not just back there cooking the whole time.
Right.
So after SBCC, you headed up north.
I had worked in Santa Barbara at the San Ysidro Ranch, and I got that fine dining kind of feel and loved it. I worked for a phenomenal chef there, and he had 5-star, 5-diamond rating. He was extremely good. Came from Chicago, from Charlie Trotter's, who was at the time one of the best chefs in the United States. He got me into the fine dining thing. He said to me, "Hey, what's your next step?" And I said, "I don't know. I really want to carry on." He says, "Well, you really need to go to that big city and work in the best restaurant you can." And back in the day, you just knock on the back door and you work in the best restaurant, and you hopefully got in and they made you a dishwasher, and then you can,
That's cool.
right? So I went to LA at that time. There was a restaurant called L'Orangerie, and it was a 5-star, 5-diamond restaurant in LA, the only one, and it was owned by 2 French people. And I knocked on the back door, and Ludo was the chef. I don't know, he's a big,
Yeah, I know
Ludo Prave, he's like the big Food Network chef. He's the French guy who gets the hot temper. I worked for him. So he introduced me to a kind of he was just beginning to his career, which was really cool because we really fed off each other. But I really learned the hardcore kitchen back then. It was, the old
You learned how
nightmare
to
story.
swear?
Yep.
Like Gordon Ramsay?
Yep. And they burn you, and they were real nasty back then. And it's not like that nowadays, which is great. But back when I was working, I mean, I remember getting my head slammed in a refrigerator door and I got knocked out from it.
Oh my God.
From the sous chef. Oh, it was intense, very, very intense. But again,
You're
earning your stripes. So from there, I graduated and did some traveling. I wanted to go to Australia. My first time I went to Australia, and then I staged in a couple places. I don't know if you know what that means, but you've kind of worked for free, and
Yep.
did that, and then came back, and I wanted to extend my education, so I wanted to take some baking classes. So I went to the Culinary Institute of America, which is a phenomenal school. There's one in Hyde Park, and then one in Napa Valley, and so I love that. And from there, I started just bopping around and working in the best restaurants I could find. So,
Hey, I have a question about that. You want to stop for a second? So
Hold on.
So in my class, and I think in Ventura High's class also, we watched the Michelin experience, what it's like to be in a fine dining atmosphere. And I asked my students, what do you think we have in Ventura that's fine dining? And it was really hard for us to come up with something. So I wanted to hear, because your career, definitely the whole first half or more was fine dining.
right,
Sure.
right. Most of it was fine dining in the beginning, and I guess my philosophy was like, if I could work in the best restaurants, I would be taught at the highest level, right? So I was thinking,
Oh, that's okay. It's a family. Remember I said family, this is part of why.
I have the
Joel-
kids here.
He's got the kids here. That's like a benefit. It's the benefit of being able to have your own business.
Yeah.
Because you get to choose to have your kids here.
Right.
And
So fine dining and Michelin star, I have to make it clear that there's a lot of fine dining restaurants, but not all are Michelin rated.
Exactly.
Some are, and again, you've probably heard the 1 to 3 scale, right? So even to get a 1-star Michelin is almost impossible. And
do you know now they've got 2 other ratings also? Superica in Santa Barbara has a Michelin rating.
yes, you can be Michelin rated, meaning they
Recommend you.
recommend this restaurant to be a great restaurant to go. So you can be, a high-end Mexican restaurant, I mean, I think there's one in LA that's a taco
Yeah.
place that has a Michelin rating. So again, it doesn't have to be fine dining, it's more about the food, right? But when you talk about 3-star Michelin restaurants, you're talking the elite of all elite restaurants. And there's probably only 4 or 5 in the United States, right? So to get to that level, and then most of those people that hold those are not even Americans, they're French or European.
But they come
chefs.
here and they work in the restaurants.
Correct. So again, that's if you were to say there's a fine dining restaurant in Ventura County, there's really not.
Hold on.
So in my class, and I think in Ventura High's class also, we watched the Michelin experience, what it's like to be in a fine dining atmosphere. And I asked my students, what do you think we have in Ventura that's fine dining? And it was really hard for us to come up with something. So I wanted to hear, because your career, definitely the whole first half or more was fine dining.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Most of it was fine dining in the beginning, and I guess my philosophy was like, if I could work in the best restaurants, I would be taught at the highest level, right? So I was thinking,
Oh, that's okay. It's a family. Remember I said family, this is part of why.
I have the
Joel-
kids here.
He's got the kids here. That's like a benefit. It's the benefit of being able to have your own business.
Yeah.
Because you get to choose to have your kids here.
Right.
And
So fine dining and Michelin star, I have to make it clear that there's a lot of fine dining restaurants, but not all are Michelin rated.
Exactly.
some are, you know, and again, you've probably heard the 1 to 3 scale, right? So even to get a 1-star Michelin is almost impossible. And
do you know now they've got 2 other ratings also? Super Rica in Santa Barbara has a Michelin rating.
Yes, you can be Michelin rated, meaning they recommend this restaurant to be a great restaurant to go. So you can be, you know, a high-end Mexican restaurant, or, you know, I mean, I think there's one in LA that's a taco place that has a Michelin rating. So again, it doesn't have to be fine dining, it's more about the food, right? But when you talk about 3-star Michelin restaurants, you're talking the elite of all elite restaurants. And you know, there's probably only 4 or 5 in the United States, right? So to get to that level, and most of those people that hold those are not even Americans, they're French or European.
But they come here and they work in the restaurants.
Correct. So again, that's if you were to say there's a fine dining restaurant in Ventura County, there's really not a fine dining restaurant in Ventura County. I would say maybe the Ojai Valley Inn is a fine dining restaurant, but again, it's not even a 1-star Michelin. It's not even, it's that far away, right? There's, again, maybe the Miramar in Montecito is another good example. Like, they may get a Michelin star this year, but again, they're extremely high level. It's very expensive to dine there. They have all the bells and whistles, and they're attentive to every need a customer wants.
It's serious. Okay, so back to your journey. All right, so bounced around Europe a little bit and worked, like you said,
In Denmark,
and in Denmark, and took that. I think that's great advice. If you can work for the best, I mean, think about that just in any career. If you start working at the highest level there is, there's nothing you can do. You can't do. So that's cool. Okay, so continue.
So I think there's a lot of miscommunication to students about, you know, they go to the top cooking school in the United States and then all of a sudden they're chefs. But I think what happens is a lot of them don't have the experience. They may have knowledge, right? But you really need the experience in restaurants to really learn, right?
In anything.
Right, exactly.
And there's tricks to the trade too that you're not going to learn in a school setting.
The beauty of cooking is you'll never learn too much. You can't. There's every day you'll learn something new, and if you're not, then you should definitely look at it and say, hey, what can I learn? Because knowledge is an amazing thing, right? So
they just are learning right now. They just did an assignment about food trends also, and so you look at, you know, food trends, and those are constantly changing, and so you have to evolve as a chef as the trends evolve.
Right.
You know, like molecular gastronomy. That's not it's not as big a deal as it was.
As it used to be. It's funny because I was horrible in science in high school, and last year I did the science of bread and leavening and rising and fermentation and all the science behind making bread, because I was working with a recipe and I was trying to figure out how I can make the recipe last longer, not dry out, and so I had to learn the science of bread. So it made me realize that science in high school was really important.
Turns out you actually do pretty well in science, right?
Well, I have to make myself learn.
I mean, baking is science. I say that to the kids all the time. Baking especially is science.
Right.
Cooking, you can kind of fudge a little bit here and there to taste, but baking, there is so much science that goes into it.
I learned something last week that I never knew, and I learned it on TV, and I was like, wow, that's... So the box, it's the blue box of Salt Kosher, there's the blue one, and there's the red box.
Diamond.
Yes, so the blue box, I don't know if you know this, it is twice as salty as the red box. I had no idea. After 35 years of cooking, I had no idea.
My students knew that. You know what? Did you watch Samin?
Yes, I watched Samin. That's where I got it. I was like,
that's how my students learned it too.
But I know that salts have different salinity. I knew that, but I didn't realize that our everyday kosher salt that we use in every kitchen, the two are those major brands, that they're completely different.
They are. Because she was saying you can just dump a ton of the diamond salt in there because it's not as salty.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're always learning. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So back to let's fast forward just a little bit and just talk about some of your, you know, some of those experiences that you've had, because so we know you cooked French, we know you cooked Japanese, and you were a sushi, studied in Japan.
Yep, studied in Japan, Tokyo.
In Australia, you went back to Australia And what were you focusing on there?
It was a Japanese-French restaurant that I was working in. Then
real quick, just note, listen to all the places he's been able to travel and live with this job. I mean,
so Sydney took me to New York because the chef that I worked for in Sydney was moving to New York, and every chef in the United States who wants to be a great chef needs to work in New York. That's what I was told, so I went to New York.
And you brought your wife.
I brought my wife to New York. Right.
He brought her from Australia.
A surfer from Ventura County was in at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, was the premier hotel right there in Columbus Circle. It's the new Twin Towers, 5-star, 5-diamond, Michelin-rated restaurant. I mean, Asiat was an amazing restaurant, and I was this young kid from Ventura in New York and was completely shocked. And again, you go to New York to work, and we're talking 7 days a week, minimum 15 hours a day. That was a time to learn, but it was great. It was a great experience. I took it and I loved it. And my wife and I ended up truly loving New York.
Yeah, and she worked too.
She did. She was a hostess.
She's in the hospitality industry also. I mean, what we talk about is, this is just one element. The hospitality industry that we've talked about is so layered.
Right. That took her into catering. She was coordinating catering after that. So it really developed her too.
So that was you when you worked there. You were working at a Michelin restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
and it's that experience.
We were surrounded by, we had the Per Se, which is Thomas Keller's restaurant, underneath us, and we had Masa, which is the Japanese restaurant by Hiro Masa. Both have 3-star Michelin ratings, and they were literally downstairs in this building. So every night I'd get off work and I'd go to Masa's, have a beer, sit with Masa. He had a bar next to his Michelin restaurant, and he'd come out and have a beer with me, and it was really cool.
I think that's one of the really cool things that I enjoyed about working in the food industry is just how much camaraderie there is. You know, you're not sitting at a desk, you're moving around, you're busy, you're chatting, you have the opportunity to joke with people and really get to know them, you know, for who they are. And people come from all different backgrounds.
Right.
You learn something interesting from the person who's the dishwasher to, you know, the barista to what the hostess. And so there's so many different backgrounds and layers.
And at the end, you know, it's funny because in New York it's like going to battle every night because you're doing like, you know, 200-300 covers a night, and it's super extreme, and you're working at the highest level. And you know, there's a lot of grumpy people, and you're stressed. But at the end of the day, we all come back together, and we realize that we're a team, and that's how we work. And you know, we laugh, shrug things off, and we move on to the next day.
Exactly. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so your next step down to Miami was actually pretty cool. I know you came back to Santa Barbara and you lived here because we were sad that you guys all left for Miami.
Right.
But when you went to Miami, you worked for a really cool chef, and Chef Fernandez knows who this guy is.
Well, I actually take that back. I was working for myself in Miami. Before that, I was working with Jose Andres.
Right.
I opened SLS in Beverly Hills with Jose. I was able to go to Washington, D.C. and work in all of his restaurants. And Jose is an amazing guy, amazing character, amazing chef, but he has a great personality. It's Spanish, and the Spanish thing was blowing up back then. And I got to meet like Ferran Adrian and his brother, which is the best chefs in the world at the time. It was an amazing experience. But again, you know, Jose is with World Kitchen now. He did great things for the world and feeding people. But yes, I went to Miami. I held down a Miami job and worked for, again, a big hotel chain there, and had a very successful career there. Got to be on TV and a marketing team.
Oh yeah, we're watching. Yeah. We're gonna watch your Today Show segment.
Got to do that, and I was on the Food Network channel, and it really was a great experience. But again, wasn't a fan of Miami. I had to come home. I like it in Ventura County. So.
Yeah, family. I mean, you get these opportunities to travel all over the world and work with really cool people and have these experiences. But again, I mean, this is the other thing, is that in this industry, there are so many different levels. You can come home and find something too. So
I came home.
You kind of shifted gears.
I shifted gears. I came home because I wanted it. I'm a surfer, so I wanted to be by the water again. And I thought, you know, and I'd been so serious, it was kind of taking a toll on me. And I came back. My son was going to school with another boy from school, and they became friends. And his dad owned Urbane Cafe. So Tom is the owner of Urbane. He approached me about a position, and at the time I was kind of juggling if I was going to go back to Santa Barbara or go back to LA, and I was applying at all these different places. And Tom said, well, have you ever tried fast casual food? And at the time I don't really eat fast food, and I never really got into the fast casual thing. He says, well, why don't you give it a try? You've worked in these amazing restaurants, and you've had amazing restaurants. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And 6 years later, I had been working for Tom. I had learned, I had opened 15 restaurants, learned a ton on the business side of restaurateuring, right?
Sure.
He's, you know,
Very different.
Yeah, I mean, now he's partnered with
to.
Panda. We did the merger with Panda Express, which Panda has like 2,000 restaurants, and Andrew is one of the wealthiest men in the world. So again, what an experience to be tied in with all that.
Yeah, to just layer your experience. You have all that experience in the kitchen, all over the world, and now you got that business side from him. And didn't you developed his menus for him?
I did.
I know you had done that for some other restaurants. You opened restaurants and you developed the menus.
Yep.
And I mean, that's another cool. That's part 2 of our interview.
So
is developing a menu. But so you had that experience working for him, and it just kind of inspired you to.
Yeah. So again, you know, the pandemic came across, and I was kind of thinking what I was going to do my next step, and I had never opened a restaurant with my dream to open my own place. And after 30 or 35 years of experience, again, 35 years of experience, I decided to open a restaurant, right? And opening is very, very, very risky, but again, I knew that I had the experience, that I could make it through this, and that's where we're at today.
And I know, just having known you for so many years too, you know, you have talked about this dream of opening a restaurant, and your vision of what it looked like has changed.
Right.
Throughout, you know, every different level of your life, you've talked about opening a restaurant. Oh, maybe I want to do this, or maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do this. So I think you probably had to have all of those experiences to get to the place where you felt really good about what it was you were going to open.
Right, and this place is definitely not fine dining. It's casual. It's going to be amazing food, but it's definitely got a casual feel to it. I've realized that, you know, having that intensity of fine dining wasn't really, I was good at it and I loved it, but again, as the older I got, I really wanted to go back to the passion of what I really enjoyed, and that's the cooking part of it. So having a casual restaurant felt better for me.
Hey, you know, something I just thought of too is Joel also did these pop-up dinners that he used to do with the wine bar in Ventura, and now you have your own space.
Yeah.
If you ever felt like you were missing that piece, that fine dining,
Well, we'll be open for dinner eventually, and we'll be doing that food.
Yeah,
So.
because you do. Joel's, you know, you just think back to what he's talked about and all the different kinds of food that he's cooked, Spanish, and when he cooked French food and sushi, and I mean everything really. And he is creative. He even said it about himself. So to be able to have that opportunity to dabble and change things, and
I think that was the best part of my career, was having the ability to be almost an artist and do the things that you really truly loved. And that really, I mean, again, I can't lie and say that the restaurant industry is easy. It is not easy. It's a very hard industry to be in, but there's that one part of you that if you have that passion, it keeps you driving. And I know a lot of people that have careers that don't really like their jobs, and they just go because it pays well but they're miserable. Look, I love what I do, and it's really hard to find something that you truly love and get to work in the same thing together, which is
constantly changing. You meet new people. I mean, you've got the personality for it
Right.
too, but. Yeah, it's a cool industry with, again, as I just say, they're learning about the hospitality industry as a whole, and even just on the food and beverage side of it, the opportunities that you have to find something that you are passionate about or that you are interested in, you wouldn't necessarily think of. You know, Charnay and I were just talking about a gentleman who was a chef and now he sells beef and he works for that company, and you know, you went from being a chef to opening restaurants, and now you're your own restaurant. So just lots and lots of opportunities. We've gotten we've gotten to this point. My cameraman keeps messing with me. Where you're opening this beautiful restaurant. I mean, I know the food's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Because I've eaten Joel's food a number of times. And he knows mine is really good. I mean,
phenomenal chef.
yeah, we do.
I was just telling my chef de cuisine in the back, I said, she's a phenomenal home cook.
Wait, and you said something about the cameraman.
And the
Oh,
cameraman's
right,
bread is
yeah,
delicious.
right, exactly. But no, Joel and I like to cook together. It is fun.
It is fun.
We do like to cook together. Anyway, so how did you get to the point? You said the pandemic hit, and you know that your job kind of shifted, and so how do you get to the point where you go, okay, we're opening this, and this is our inspiration? I know I know the story, and then tell us just a little bit about, we see it's still under construction. What's your projection for how long until it opens and we can all come down here? Oh, by the way, you guys, side note, Joel said, if you come in and you mention that you are from Buena High School or Ventura High School's culinary program, he will, 1, give you free advice, and 2, free tap water.
There you go.
So, line up. Anyhow, so what was the inspiration behind it? Just tell us like a few things that are going to be on your menu.
So when we traveled a lot, my wife and I, and my wife is from Australia, and I really truly loved Australia as another home. We should go back as much as we can there. But the one thing that I noticed, and also in big cities, and Ventura was missing, was just that corner restaurant that you could go to 3 times a day or 3 times a week, and really just have a wide array of healthy options. I just felt like there was a niche in Ventura that needed to be filled. So the menu right now will be open for breakfast and lunch in the beginning. We'll move into dinner, but we're going with healthier options. Australian cuisine and Australian cafes, I would say, is very similar to California cuisine, which it's this mash of Thai influence, Japanese influence, you've got Mexican influences, and you've kind of all mashed them together. But again, not cloudy and not done well. So we'll have healthy options in the morning, but we'll also have a breakfast burrito or an egg sandwich to go or something like that. Chili Killies is on the menu. So stuff like that. My wife she's a health freak, so your acai bowls and your chai puddings and your avocado toast, they're going to be on the menu as well. And then lunch kind of is the same thing. I'm taking a little bit for urbane sandwiches and salads and healthy bowls. And Australia is full of seafood, and I feel like we have to utilize the local seafood here. I have a lot of fishing friends, and so we'll have that on the menu. So salad, sandwiches, and some entree options. And then at night we're going to focus on small plates and wine and beer, mostly wine. But
his experience from cooking with Andres.
Yes.
So
not really small plates again, but not Spanish. Yes, some influences, but again, global influences, just in a smaller version, and having the ability for a customer to have several different options.
Yeah, that's fun.
And have little bites of everything. It's fun. It keeps it lively. And
so funny. One of the things that when the students watched the experience, the Michelin experience, that was one of the comments, because it was a tasting menu that they showed you. So it's all sorts of 15, 16 different little small plates. And I said, that's not used to how we don't typically eat that way, but it's definitely more fun. It's better for you. You don't sit down to this plate of pasta that's that big, but it's a fun way to eat because you do get to try it.
Here's the beauty of this too, and you bring up pasta, but all the best pasta places that I've been Michelin star pasta restaurants, but they always give you that not enough. You're always wanting more, and that's the beauty. Well, not just that, you don't leave hungry, but if you're doing a tasting menu, that last bite, you're like, man, I could just have one more bite. It's so good, I just want one more bite. And that's the beauty of small plates. Like you can get another bite, you just order something else. So that's the goal at nighttime.
All right, and that's gonna happen. So when do you think you'll be open? Like in the next month, 2 months? What are you thinking?
We are shooting for middle of November, late November.
That's this month.
Yeah, that's this month. So we're wrapping things up here in the construction side. We're going to start developing the menu next week, working with my chefs and trying to figure out how it's all going to be laid out. We are on our way, so hopefully you can come visit at the end of the month.
All right, keep your eyes open. You guys that go to Ventura High School, you can walk here. It's so wonderful. Right here on Front Street, next to the wharf, the new toppers. Come and try out what they have going on, see the beautiful space. The cool thing is you'll meet Joel. You know, you probably will see Charnay. You'll probably see his kids, and I think that's one of the really neat things about having a family restaurant is that you come back and you actually meet the owners and you meet the restaurant. And thank you so much.
Thank
Joel.
you. Enjoy.